Thank you, ma'am, for having a speech. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Pat Duckworth. Please, ma'am.
Thank you. So good afternoon, my name's Pat Duckworth and I'm a cognitive hypnotherapist. So there is a lot of commonality in what Mary does and what I do. As a cognitive hypnotherapist, I use neuro-linguistic programming, I use positive psychology as well as clinical hypnosis. This might sound like a bad business model, but I do not take on everyone who approaches me for help with addiction. I get people ring me up who want help with alcoholism, smoking, shopping too much, eating the wrong things, and also with gambling. But you can get addicted to anything. We know a lot of people now addicted to social media. People are addicted to pornography. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. Just like with phobias, you can be phobic to anything. I've had people come to me with a phobia for polka dots. How's that going to hurt you? It doesn't matter. Everybody else's phobia is funny except yours. And with addiction, you can be addicted to absolutely anything. So if somebody rings me up, I like to have a long conversation with them. Just as Mary does, I always offer a free half an hour because I want to know whether I can help that person. And if somebody rings me up and I say, so what brings you now to hypnotherapy? And they say, oh, my mum said she'd pay for it. I am not taking that client because I want to know why they want to do it. Or somebody suggested hypnotherapy. I think it's probably rubbish, but I thought I'd give it a go. I do not want that client. I want the one who says, I'm having physical problems. You know, I smoke and I'm coughing and I'm really worried that I'm going to develop cancer. Or I'm drinking and every day I wake up and I feel terrible and I know what this could do because I've seen it happen in my family. Or I'm eating too much, my knees are aching, I know this is doing me no good. These are the clients that I want to work with. And sometimes, again, this might not sound like a very caring therapist, but I'm really listening for the messages they're giving out. Somebody rings me up and says, I want to give up smoking. Do you do a discount for people who are on low wages? Excuse me, when you go to buy your cigarettes, do you say, can I have them cheaper because, I'm on low wages? I want to help people, and if people are ill, I will help them for free. But I really want to understand their motivation, their values are really important to me. So what is addiction? I think it's so complicated. It's a bit like saying with people who are overweight, eat less and exercise more. If it was that simple, they would all be doing it. But we are making mental connections. There is wiring going on in the head. And I'm really pleased that neuroscience is catching up with it about the bundles of neural pathways that we're building up in the head that reinforce the addiction. And I think one of the areas that's really interesting, well, there are so many that are so interesting. I wish I was younger and, I would have more time. But it's the thing around identity as well, that if somebody identifies as an addict, if they come to you and say, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a smoker, they've taken on the identity, and that's a very high level of brain function. It's only just below spirituality. Who you think you are is so important to whether you get over it. I managed to, I might say even manipulate my son to stop smoking because I said to him, you're not really a smoker. This is just a habit you've got into. Because your friends smoke or you're going outside and, in the break they're having a smoke. I said, but you're not really a smoker. And I just kept saying that to him. So he wouldn't identify that that was who he was. Because if somebody identifies with it, they're going to what we call in neuro-linguistic programming an external locus of control. If your identity is I'm an addict, I can't help it, I'm an addict. It's put it outside of your control. If you say I'm somebody who does a certain behavior, you're taking on responsibility, and now it's become an internal locus of control, and I can start to do something about it. It's become a behavior that I'm now in control of. So I'm listening again for that language of, do I think I'm an alcoholic? Do I think I'm a smoker? Do I think Everybody in my family is fat. That's just who we are. We're big boned. We've got a slow metabolism. That's external locus. Take the locus inside and do something about it. With my husband, he had smoked since I met him, but I came from a family where my father smoked and had given up smoking 8 times, but he'd never really given it up, because every time he gave it up, he took on a new eating habit. You know, he gave up smoking, he ate peanuts. He gave up smoking, he chewed gum. He gave up smoking, he ate sweets. So he really hadn't given up the addiction, he'd just given up that particular one. So with my husband, I knew not to try any of these things. And when he said to me, do you know what, I'm really fed up with smoking. I said, do you want any help? He said, don't do any of the funny voice stuff, you know, don't want to be hypnotized. So I said, I've got a tip for you here. I know what you're doing, because when people come to hypnotherapists, they think we're going to hypnotize them. Sounds obvious, doesn't it? But actually, they're already in a trance. They're doing their problem. They know it's not logical. They can't help themselves. If you start to wake them up from the trance, there's something that they can do. So I said to my husband, every night you come in, you sit down on the sofa, you put your cigarettes in the same place, your lighter, your ashtray. You notice the first cigarette, and then all of the others you don't notice. So I said, what I want you to do is to put all of that stuff out into the kitchen, and every time you want a cigarette, you have to go and get it, bring it back. When you finish the cigarette, you take it all back again. I know he's lazy. I knew I'd got him beaten, because after the first couple of times he did it, he said, you know what, I'm not going back out and getting another one. And within a couple of days, he'd stopped. He'd been smoking for 40 years. But with every client, you're trying to find the thing that will help them. And I think that element of spirituality, you have to be really careful in the UK when you talk about spirituality, because everybody thinks you're talking religion. You know, so what religion are you? And what we're really trying to say is, what is bigger than you are? What is that thing that you would acknowledge that's bigger than you are? And when I'm doing an intake, I say to people, if you had a purpose in life, a reason to be here on this earth, what would it be? And for some people, there is a huge silence, because they haven't acknowledged the thing that's bigger than them. So it was lovely hearing Harbin talking about this spirituality as something much bigger than religion, about the thing that's bigger than we are. And I think, you know, if you're coming out of addiction, if you want help, it's about acknowledging this isn't all about you. This is something way bigger than you are. So this is a very short introduction to what I do. I hope I've helped with some of what Mary said as well. But I think taking an internal locus of control, understand that this is something that you need to do, is the very essence of the sort of work that I do with people. It's about waking up and understanding the trance that you've been doing and then getting into something better. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to invite Ms. Mary White. Please, ma'am.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Darlis, and I'm a recovering addict. So I'm going to come from a different angle today. My profession is I'm an interventionist, and so unlike these ladies, people don't phone me up and say, come on over. Their families call me. They have a loved one. Families, friends, employers will call me and say, we have a loved one, they're in trouble, and they need your help. So when I arrive at the door, no one's really happy to see me usually. Not until sometimes years later, sometimes months later, when they're in recovery. So what I do is I have the family write love letters, and when I arrive at an intervention to aid this person, we read love letters. I'm trying to reach their heart, I'm trying to reach their spirit, and I always say that there's no denying a room full of love. And they feel that, and they feel love and respect and dignity and grace. And they haven't been feeling that. You saw some of the feelings that addicts have on the slide. They feel degraded, shamed. Their behavior, acting out their behavior and their addiction doesn't really warrant a lot of love and warmth from their family and friends. And so they're at a very low point. So I have a window of opportunities to reach that. The reason I'm in this profession is because I'm a recovering addict, 27 years clean last March. And I have a passion for helping other people achieve that. And what I say, if there wasn't a spot available for that to reach that patient's heart, then I wouldn't have a chance to reach them. But I'm there to reach them through love, and it's been working very well. There's been a lot of studies recently that said that addicts really reach that point of addiction through lack of connection. And that's so true. And for me, getting me into it, my addiction was at age 14. I had a very traumatic incident happen. I didn't share it with anybody. I was filled with guilt and fear and trauma. And that's when I started taking anything that I could get inside of me to push that feeling down. And it was through a spiritual awakening. Source said, "Hey, girlie, we got some work to do here. What are you doing?" And I really want to just talk a little bit about that. The life that I had as an addict for 18 years and the life that I live today are two different lifetimes. Very, very different. I didn't feel good about myself. I had no self-worth. I certainly wouldn't be speaking to you today from India if I was still in my addiction. My life has become wonderful. I've helped people around the world. I've traveled the world. I own my own business for 7 years. I've worked in major treatment centers throughout the US and Central America. I've been in touch with a lot of addicts, thousands and thousands. And I do have a private practice where people can see me individually, but that's not my favorite. Just sitting in the office all day. I have an office and I pay rent every month, but I'm not there very much. I do like to go to people's homes. I think we see them on a different level when they're in their home. So when I get a call, I say, "Can I come over and visit?" And they're kind of surprised about that. But I can see the whole family and what's happening in the dynamic and where they really are. There's nothing like the life of recovery. I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous. We are all over the world. We're in something like 365 countries all over the world. The 12-step program gave me that connection that I had been missing for a very long time. And the women in the recovery room surrounded me and said, "We are going to love you until you can love yourself." And today I do that for other women. I still attend meetings on a weekly basis at home. I'm there for the woman that is now walking through the door and she needs someone to love her. I have sponsees that I help, and I have a sponsor at home that still helps me to this day. I've had my one sponsee for 25 years. I said my marriage didn't last that long, unfortunately. But it's about women helping women, and it's about making that connection, and it's about making a spiritual connection. Thanks so much for letting me share.
Thank you, ma'am. Please, ma'am.